Well, it is a Friday night game, this one, and comes from Pune, and it's two teams who won their previous contest. I'm talking about PBKS versus LSG. Watch this match preview on cricket.com with me, Avnish Hegde, because we have, of course, the best expert in the house in Graeme Swann.
I like that. The best expert in the house. I like that.
Absolutely, Swanee. Why wouldn't you like it? Because at the end of the day, you've been giving us some fantastic insights. A lot of fan comments, of course, coming in for your way, and a lot of attention and appreciation. So we appreciate your time, of course, for joining us once again. PBKS or LSG, let's just start there first. Who looks good in this one?
You know what? I don't think you can look past Lucknow. You can't look past them. Do you get it? They've just been Lucknow and Gujarat, the two new franchises, have been the most impressive thing about this IPL, I think, because they've got no previous, if you like. We have no idea how they'll get on. New coaching setup, no sort of team ethos, and yet they've gelled. Both squads have gelled brilliantly, and they've played some great cricket. So I think Lucknow, because PBKS. They're that team who could be incredible on the day, but they can also be dreadful, red hot or freezing cold. And I think Lucknow are a bit like Steady Eddie. They're a bit more. I think they've got the edge going into it. But however, I want a big caveat to that. If Liam Livingstone gets going, then there's no team in the world who can hold him back.
There we go. It was just a matter of time where you'd say something positive about Livingston or Bairstow. The latter, of course, we'll talk about in just a bit. But let's start with the Punjab Kings then. The last time around, it was a change in plan. The fact that they kind of didn't go that aggressive in the power play. They kind of were conservative. How would you kind of look at that right now? Is that a new blueprint, or are they going to stick with their old same ways?
Well, I don't know. I think that must have had a lot to do with the wicket. I think the wicket was a bit trickier than they played on last time. And the fact they've been bowled out for less than 100 or just over 100 the game before, and they went into their shells. It was like one extreme to the other. I don't want to see that, personally. I like Punjab being the aggressive team, the team who go out there, got all guns blazing and potentially get 240, 250. I don't think they want to get left behind by Rajasthan in that respect. So if I were in charge, if I ran Kumble, not only would I have a lot more test wickets to my name, I'd also be saying, we have to get a happy medium. We can't go into our shells so much. I think if you look to be 60 off the first six, that's a good power play. And we've seen teams like Rajasthan able to do that nearly every single game. And Punjab have done it in many games. But then in the last one, they had about 25, I think. They were dull as dishwater.
I mean, having said that, do you think you're someone who would go for that 60 for 3 approach or 40 for 1? It's all about how you assess the power play at the end of the day.
Without a doubt, 60 for 3. Without a doubt. You've only got 20 overs, hell for leather. It may be seen as a bit maverick, but honestly, I think when they're on the front foot, when they're really going hard, it doesn't have to be 60 for 3. It can be 60 for none. Let's face it. But if you accept 40 for 1, you're never going to get 60. So some weeks it might be 60 for 5, but other games it'd be 60 for none. I'd much rather take that personally.
Yeah, because look, I mean, Punjab need to find an anchor in the middle order if there has to be a case like that. They were 47 for 3 in that power play where they capitulated for 115. So let's see how they play those cards, right? Another thing which really strikes me about Punjab is Johnny Bairstow. Now, they haven't got the best out of him. He's been unlucky in some of the cases of him getting out. Do you think they will replace him now with Nathan Ellis, who looked good in that first game but didn't play the last game, obviously?
I don't know. I think Johnny Bairstow is so good that you can't replace him. The trouble with Johnny is he's an opening batsman, and he's brilliant at opening batting in one-day cricket, in white ball cricket. But they're not going to, move Mayank or Shikhar, or they're reluctant to. I personally think Mayank could do an unbelievable job at number 3, and I'd put Johnny into open. You'll get the best out of Johnny opening, and then you've got those 3 at the top all firing, rather than just the 2 openers firing, and then Johnny struggling at number 3. That's what I'd do personally.
Okay, that's an interesting move by you. I'm sure we'll headline it later. Now, let's talk about LSG, because you're, of course, backing them already. We have to talk about the captain, who's going to be playing against his former franchise. We saw, of course, last night, Rashid against his former franchise. So there's someone writing these scripts out there. But listen, KL Rahul, how do you rate him this season? Because he's actually had a good strike rate both against spin and pace since 2018. But the saddening thing here is every time he bats second, he gets into a little bit of a pickle. Can you explain this?
I can't really. Who would have thought that KL Rahul, by the way, would be up there in the run charts, in the MVP charts and everything after the first ball of this year's IPL when he nicked off. The very first ball. Do you remember all that time ago? But yeah, he's been brilliant. He's such a good player. He's so majestic. In fact, here in the hotel where the commentators stay, we have many debates over who the best players are, who are the best, aesthetically best to watch, most graceful. And KL Rao always comes out, especially the Indian guys. They love KL Rao. Personally, Virat Kohli for me. That cover drive, you'll never beat it. But everyone loves KL Rao, and it's very obvious when you see him batting in the sort of form he's in. But you're right, batting second, he has got him in a bit of a pickle. I love that word, by the way, pickle. Well done. I think he just has to go out there and read that script that Rahul Tewati has read, that Rashid Khan's read, and go and do it against your old team. It's not nice for the old franchise, but it's great for the individual to pull it out of the bag. I've got no worries about KS Rahul scoring runs, batting first or second.
Okay, there was a funny joke running on Twitter the other day: when life gives you Rahuls, make it a Tewatia, not a KL. But look, no offense taken, LSG man. But let's move on and talk. Yeah, it's a decent joke. I mean, an 8 on 10 or so.
You write it though. You did it yourself, didn't you? You said it was flying around Twitter, but blatantly penned by yourself. Good.
Look, I don't want to be caught off guard, but I mean, look, just putting it out there. Jokes apart, though, let's move on and talk about the bowlers. And I would definitely want to ask you about one spinner who's again playing against his former franchise. I'm talking about Ravi Bishnoi. And in particular, we found this, which is the noticeable change in his bowling this year, his speed, which he's operated, right? So in IPL 2020 and 2021, he bowled the majority of his deliveries under 95 kilometers per hour and around 20% where it was above 95 kilometers per hour. But literally in 2022, it's been exactly the opposite, Swanee. As a spinner, can you tell me what sort of advice would you be giving them this? Is there a lot of data talk involved?
I don't think he's bowling with great rhythm at the minute. The last game I watched him in, I think he was overextended in his run-up. He looked to be taking bigger strides in delivery stride. They're already quite big, always have been quite big. I felt they were just a bit longer, and as a result, he's bowling very flat trajectory and almost bowling too short. So I'd be working behind the scenes with him, just trying to shorten his delivery stride very slightly and get him back to that slightly slower pace. I mean, the pace you bowl is very individual. We've seen with Kuldeep this year, he's bowling quicker than he has in the last couple of years, and it's really working for him. Really paying dividends. But the problem is, if you bowl slightly quicker, you've still got to be putting a lot of revolutions on the ball. And Ravi Bishnoi does put a lot of revs on the ball. He's a very good googly bowler, especially. But I just felt in the last game, because he was extending too far, he was bowling too flat and not giving the ball a chance to grip in the serves. It was more skidding off rather than ripping. So that's all I'd say. He's still bowling okay. He's not bowling badly. By any stretch of the imagination, but I think there's a little bit more in the tank.
You mentioned that he's a good googly bowler. Is he overdoing it with the wrong ones? Because predominantly it's almost, 16 out of the 24 balls he's bowling are googlies. Would you kind of tell him to do something different?
No. It's his strongest ball. I've got no issue whatsoever. If a guy is strong and he practices that and that's his method is built around that, then stick to it. Stick to what you know. You should never change because of what outsiders think looking in. It's very easy to look in and say this and that. At the end of the day, you're letting go of the ball. You've got to be confident in the ball you're bowling, confident in your method to get the guy out. And if he feels his method is using that googly more often, then go for it. It's what he's done over the past few years to great success. So I'm not going to question it.
Now, let's, of course, ask you a last particular question about this bowler, because Arshdeep Singh has just been under the radar. I mean, you look at some of the stats and numbers, and here's a fun fact. In this IPL, at the death overs, his economy of 7.3 is the best for anyone. And not just that, he's conceded a boundary every 9 balls, which is also among the best for a pacer. Is he one of the most underrated pacers in this year's competition?
Absolutely. I was just about to say at the death, his numbers are as good as they get. They're better than everyone else. Death bowlers are so hard to find. And we saw, death bowlers being taken to the sword last night by Tewati and Rashid.
Yeah.
And these are good death bowlers who you'd think are good death bowlers. And a left armer, Jansen, a tall left armer nonetheless. Arshdeep is really, really good. He doesn't bowl too many variations, I don't think. I think he's got a very good Yorker, and he bowls out wide outside the off stump Yorker. He has got slow balls, he has got a bumper, but he tends to keep it fairly simple. I think that's the key to his success. He doesn't bowl back at the handballs and this and that. He's not got 5 different variations per over. He keeps it fairly simple, and he just tries to be one step ahead of the batsman. I think that's his greatest strength. And yeah, he's bowling great. And he's a little bit quicker than you'd think as well. When you're in the stadium watching him, he hits the keeper's gloves harder than you'd think, because he just looks like a bit of a medium pacer at first. But then when you see him, when he gets it through, when he pushes it through, he slams into the keeper's gloves.
Yeah, it's kiddie as much as we'd like to see it. And it's that KISS theory, right? Keep it simple, silly. And that's paying dividends for Arshdeep, all right? Let's start it on nicely to Mr. Milestone then and ask Graeme Swann what he has for you viewers in this one.
So today my question for you guys is this. Which player in the IPL needs 4 more fours? 4 more boundary fours to reach 100?
Yeah, let us know in the comments below and then stand a chance to win a cricket.com hamper, and we can promise you that man could be doing some of the damage later on in that match. Right, predictions, because I know you said LSG. How much is it? 80-20 LSG, or you're literally riding Punjab off here?
No, can't go 80-20 in a Tata IPL game. I'm going to go 60-40 LSG.
Okay, 60-40. I bet KL Rahul and company would like that, of course, and more support for them the merrier. But look, Punjab Kings themselves, they've been inconsistent. Maybe they can surprise KL Rahul, and that'll be fun to watch. That's all we have in this match preview with me, Avnish Hegde, and of course Graeme Swann. Catch us post-match where you can bug Swann about all the questions relating to the game, and we'll have it for you then. Until then, it's a goodbye from me.